well-established rich coming right back at you. Now, hip-hop has always been a culture where business and loyalty can collide. And every once in a while, a story comes along that reminds you how complicated that collision can be. Because right now, a conversation is brewing around one of the most popular West Coast MCs in history. And the person who decided to start that conversation is somebody who actually has family ties to the people involved, RayJ. And the person he decided to call out was his own cousin, Snoop Dogg. Now that alone is enough to make people pay attention, because when family disagrees publicly in hip hop, it usually means something real is being said. And what RayJ started asking about is not small talk. He started asking questions about money, about publishing, about certain artists from the death row era have been paid what they rightfully deserve. And when you hear those words, one name immediately comes back into the conversation: Death Row Records. Now, every hip-hop fan knows what that label represents. Legendary music, classic albums, the soundtrack of an era. But the other side of that history is business controversy. Artists who claim they didn't get paid right. Artists who said their contracts were one-sided. Artists who felt the business didn't match the cultural impact of the music. Back in the 90s, the label was run by Suge Knight, and his reputation became part of hip-hop history. Powerful, controlling, and surrounded by stories of artists who felt like they were owed more than they received. Now fast forward to today. The irony of this moment is that the person who owns Death Row Records now is one of the artists who helped build it, Snoop Dogg. When he bought the label, many people thought it was a full circle moment. The artist comes back and owns the brand. The student becomes the owner of the school. And in theory, that should have been a happy ending for the Death Row story. But according to RayJ, there are people who feel like the story ain't that simple. Because during a very public moment online, RayJ started asking questions that made the internet stop and listen. He asked whether publishing money had been paid. He asked whether artists from that era ever received what they deserved. And then he said something that really caught people's attention. He said there are rumors that Snoop Dogg is turning into the new Suge Knight. Now that's a very heavy statement, because when people say the new Suge Knight, they ain't talking about music. They are talking about control of the business, control of the money, control of the legacy that still generates money to this day. And before we go any further, I want you to hear exactly what RayJ had to say when he addressed this situation publicly.
Yo, Snoop, you my relative. I talked to Julian, I talked to Dash, I talked to Corrupt, I talked to everybody, and everybody's telling me you turned into the new Suge. I don't want to believe that, Snoop. I don't want to believe that you turned into the new Suge. I want to believe that you've given everybody what they deserved. And everything that they ever didn't get, you taking over Death Row was supposed to be the one to be the savior to give everybody what they needed. Word on the street is that you haven't given anybody nothing. And you became the new Suge. I don't want to believe that, Snoop. I want you to respond, and I want you to tell me that you're not the new Suge. I want you to tell me that you gave everybody all the publishing and all the rights and everything that they deserved. Everybody from our cousin Dash to, Julian, to whoever else is talking, right? I don't give a f anybody else but it's related to us. I said two that is in our bloodline, and you're a great person. I love you. Can you please tell everybody that I'm tripping and that you have not become Suge Knight? Because if you have, then we'll deal with that and we'll figure it out. But everybody's feelings are hurt. Nobody feels like you have come through for them. Everybody from the LBC to Carson to Compton to Los Angeles all the way up to Santa Clarita. But you've been keeping all the money and you're super rich. I love you, Snoop. Please respond to this, because I'm not here to try to point the finger. But when Dash tells me something, Julian tells me something, and then there's like 20 other people that's telling me other things that are surprising. Because the last thing I thought that you would be is the new Suge Knight. Make it make sense, Snoop. Make it make sense right now. Cause I don't give a nigga. You know that. You my cousin. But don't ever think that you doing people wrong I'm not gonna let it slide. What are you gonna do to me? Exactly. Let's talk about it. Let's do a sit down and let's figure out, why do people say you're the new Suge? Why do people say that you're over all their money? Why do people say that you're the worst person in the world right now in LA? Why? When you're my cousin. Let's figure it out. I love you, Snoop. But I also love Daz. I also love Julie. And I also love all my Crip homies and all my blood homies. Don't represent Death Row if you're Suge Knight again. Unless that's what it is. If you Suge again, it is Death Row. I'm confused. Can you please make light of what we're going through right now on the West Coast? Snoop, my cousin, sincerely, RayJ.
Now, when you listen to what RayJ is saying in that clip, you can hear something very clear. This ain't rap beef. This is a conversation about business, about whether people who help build a legacy feel they are being taken care of today. And one of the names RayJ brought up in that conversation is a man who was right there during the original Death Row era, Daz Dillinger. Daz helped produce some of the most important records in West Coast history. And over the years, he has also spoke about business issues connected to Death Row, which is why RayJ saying his name in this conversation made people sit up. But here's where this story gets even more interesting, because Daz is not the only artist from that era who has shared a story about business disputes connected to Death Row. There's another voice from that time who made a claim that shocked a lot of people.
And Snoop sent a nasty text back like, cuz you not on death row. What I did for you, I did out of love, trying to help you. I got in your video, I charged for that. I got on a song with you, I charged for that. So recognize a blessing when you see it. That's what he sent me. So my management team, they got to calm me down, because I'm finna, if I'd have been in front of him and he said that to me, let me explain to you what would have happened. Those big guys that you see with him, they probably would have beat my brains out, because I would have slapped the shit out of Snoop. Because you talking to me for like we men. I'm a man that didn't even bother him. I'm a man that I ain't call that nigga. Like, we too grown to like play games with each other. And at the end of the text that he sent me, when he sent me that text, I held myself back, because my team like, man, just don't say nothing, D. This could be a great opportunity. I'm quiet. And he said something else smart to me. His lawyer sent back and said, we made a mistake. Danny portion is $7,000 because the producers have to be paid. Snoop producers got to be paid. So ultimately I made $7,000. I needed it, because you fucked up what I had going on. I had at least $50,000. The lady's ready to sign me again. So when a person asks me why I'm so upset, or why was I upset? Because I ain't upset now, because I keep telling people, I don't give a damn what you have. I don't give a damn who you are. Karma hit back. So you always get it. You're going to get back what you put out.
Now, when you start talking about money in hip hop, the conversation can get very sensitive very quickly, because money represents more than just business. It represents respect. It represents ownership. And for many artists, it represents the difference between building a legacy and feeling like your contribution was never properly rewarded. Now, let's talk about Danny Boy's situation, which was recent. He said he was given a bad deal by the new Death Row. And he even said the chain he received from Snoop was not even real. Now, again, that is his claim. And every business has multiple sides. But when an artist from the same era starts pushing similar experiences, it creates a conversation that the culture can't ignore.
Snoop took this off his neck and put it on my neck in the So High video. And I went to go get the chain cleaned, and I'm like, shit. The person I took it to was like, shit, you want to clean it? He's like, what's this? I'm like, what you mean, what's this? Man, I don't know if I should have thought if it was real or not. But like even the little fake shit that I wear, like, this ain't shit.
Now, when you hear that story, you start to understand why people still have questions about the business side of the Death Row legacy. And that brings us back to today. When Snoop bought the label, many people thought he was going to change the story of Death Row. Make it newer, make it different from the old days. But RayJ's comments suggest that some people are wondering if that actually happened. And then there's another voice that adds even more complexity to this situation. A man who was not just an artist, but a producer who helped create the sound of the West Coast. Daz Dillinger. Over the years, Daz has also shared his thoughts about compensation and business matters connected to Death Row. And when you hear his comments, you understand why RayJ felt comfortable bringing his name up.
I got kicked off of Death Row again from Snoop. He did a show and didn't take me, so I figured, like, why you know, what's going on? He's just like, you ain't signing your catalog over to me. And I'm like, I'm keeping it, you know what I'm saying? It's worth a lot. He owned the label, but I own the publishing. And that's more valuable than the ownership.
I see you ain't got but hate on me, huh? In a minute, on some, not physically, but business-wise. Because you broke right now. Someone in a minute, cuz leave me alone. Leave me alone. You didn't put that on me. Leave me alone, cuz.
Now, when you put all those voices together, RayJ, Daz Dillinger, Danny Boy, you start to see why this story is getting attention now. Because this ain't just one person talking. This is multiple people from different eras in the Death Row timeline raising questions about how the business side of the legacy is getting handled. And the truth is, when you are talking about a label as historic as Death Row, those questions are going to keep coming up because that brand is not just a record company. It's a piece of hip-hop history. And when people start asking who benefits from that history, the culture is always going to pay attention. And something that hits me is the fact that the label is Death Row. I don't feel that anything with the name Death in it can be successful. But hey, that's just my opinion. What's yours? Like, comment, subscribe. Establish Rich. I'll be back with another one. Peace.